All right, everybody, let's go ahead and get started. If you wouldn't mind grabbing a seat here in the middle so it's not, we're not looking all over the room as we ask questions and everything. If you haven't already, feel free to grab a ranch water over in the cooler over there. Want to welcome up Cole is my colleague with Rubico. Then we have Neil and Joey here with Verisol. If you wouldn't mind giving them a nice little round of applause to welcome them in. Oh, come on. Yeah, there we go. That's a little better.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Welcome. Good to see some familiar faces and new ones. I'm really glad that you guys are here. Like Kelvin said, I'm Cole with Rubico. We're a software development company. We love working with startups and building products. So if you're in that space, would love to chat with you after the event. But I've got two kind of newer friends. And their first time, I think, at Trends in Tech. So we've got Neil right here, co-founder and CTO of Verisol. Verisol is a SaaS startup solving the problem of fake accounts and bots for subscription platforms. So you'll get to know Verisol a lot better in a minute. And then Joey is the former interim head of growth, bringing his experience over from the private equity world to the Verisol team. So let's just welcome the two of them. Thanks again for joining us.
Thanks.
Awesome. All right, so that the crowd can get a little bit of context for who you guys are, if you could just briefly share a little bit about your either educational or career experience, kind of what got you to where you are today from your career.
Yeah, sure. So first of all, thanks. I'm happy to be here. So for me, it was my second job. My first job was I worked at Capital One Bank for 3 years. And I think there's like a good quote out there that's like, there's two kinds of founders. There's ones that are like, don't like having a boss, never want to work for the man upstairs, or really passionate about a problem. That's like not me at all. I really liked my job at Capital One, learned a lot. But I had a friend who was like that, who's the CEO of Verisol now, Henry, and he kind of roped me into Verisol. And so it was a totally different experience, got me into the startup world, and it's been a ton of fun the last 2 years. So yeah.
Awesome. What about for you, Joey?
Yeah, so I actually met Neil and Henry at UVA. So we went to Virginia on the East Coast. And then I worked with Henry at Bain & Company in Chicago. So I was really familiar with two of the three founders before they founded the company. I then came down to Austin to work at Sarent Capital, which is a PE company that invests in B2B SaaS. They're right down the road. And so I actually wasn't a part of the founding team. I did angel invest in the company.
Thanks.
You're welcome. Just because I knew these two guys really well. And then as part of Sarent Capital's program, you can actually do an externship where you leave Sarent for 4 months and you go work somewhere else. So I had the chance to do that, and of course want to go work with two of my best friends at Verisol. So I was the head of growth there for 4 months.
His last day was Friday, and so the last 4 days, a lot has changed.
Yeah.
Well, you're still here tonight, so. Was there a moment that kind of flipped the switch for you where you just decided, I'm going to jump in and obviously leave the stability of your corporate role?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's the process for me. I'm a very risk-averse person. Like, I was the last person to quit my job and make the leap of the three of us. And I think for me, it was really gradual. We worked like pretty much nights and weekends for 5 to 6 months before we all like went full-time. And I think the moment was I felt really good about the team. So we just kind of like iterated during those 6 months a lot as a team. And I felt like we, could work together well, could argue well, could like get to the truth really quickly. And then also I just felt like more and more the problem we were solving was really pertinent, and we can talk about that. But we just heard repeatedly from customers like, A, this is a problem for us, and B, it's really hard to solve in-house. And so yeah, that kind of like made us all jump in.
Yeah, why don't you just lay it out? You queued it up. What was the main problem in the industry that y'all saw that you needed to solve?
Yeah, so what we say is we detect fake accounts and fake users. And so that means a ton of different things to a ton of different industries. It can mean, you're sharing your Netflix password with your brother. It can mean you're, sending out like political bots on Twitter to harass people. So it's a huge spectrum. And so what we saw was, actually like quick backstory, the very first thing we ever made, the three of us, was like a sort of like liveness detection process. You can think of it like a KYC. And so we made that in like a month. We started selling it to some companies. And basically the learning from that was no one would use it because it's just so high friction. It takes like a minute to go through. They only want to show that to like their most suspicious or potentially fake users. So everyone was kind of after this, like, what's the frictionless way to do this? You know, like, how do I just know when you land on my page that you're potentially fake, this kind of thing. And so that kind of got us thinking, okay, like, what is the solution to this? All these companies we were talking to were just having to piece together point solutions, really, and stitch together their own data science models, basically get to their own answers, like, okay, account 1 is fake, account 2 is suspicious, like this. And that's a really hard problem. And also, that problem is not core to their business. So you could be like in a dating app, for instance, in Austin, and you have like a full product manager and like 3 data scientists just going into work every day focused on this problem. It's a huge distraction. And so what we looked at was like, okay, we have all these different industries that have this problem. Basically, the tech stack is the same to solve it. There's a couple points of configuration, but we can pretty much do this as a service. And so we basically go out, we'll help your company, usually like a Series A, Series B company, detect fake users. And I say detect deliberately because, you know, again, when we first started, I thought, oh, like for sure, as soon as I tell you this account's fake, you're gonna block it. That was really naive. The truth is that it's super like nuanced. A lot of companies are like Twitter, where, you know, Elon was making this big deal about how many bots are there, like, how do we figure this out? It's very gray. And even once you find a bot, you know, for some use cases, there even then is still value to like have that person on your platform, you know, like simple example, but I play a lot of online chess. If I don't have someone to play against, it's a bad experience. I'd rather play against a bot than like, you know, nobody. So there's all these like nuances and areas of gray in the problem. But yeah, that's what we do.
What were some initial maybe barriers to entry or pushbacks that you got from potential clients, competitors, that was kind of things you had to overcome to get started?
Yeah, I think there was a lot. I mean, I think the first one, which is maybe more technical, is like it has to always work and it has to always be right. So in a lot of these businesses, like the cost of a false positive is way higher than the cost of a false negative. So if you wrongly label someone as suspicious or fake, for instance, and they can't get a free trial or they can't use your product, that's a huge deal to these companies. So that was kind of like the first like big principle that we built into the product is, you know, we want to be always right, but if we had to be wrong, it's better to be false negative. So that was hard. I think getting that right is something that we still, you know, work on, like I would say every quarter. That's one. I think the other thing is getting people to trust your answers is hard. And this is where it gets really like use case specific, but I'll give an example of, we work with a lot of market research companies. So what they do is they will go out and publish a poll, a survey, people get paid to take the survey. If they potentially have like fraudulent answers on the survey, their customers get really mad at them and basically say, I'm not paying for this. So it's very closely tied to their revenue, if it's fraud or not. And so for them to like really enact and decision our like answers takes them like maybe months, you know? So we would be integrated in these customers for months. In one case, like 12 months. And they still wouldn't like really fully, you know, want to trust us, want to like, you know, use the decisions in real time. And then, you know, we have other cases where it's like, it was like a breeze, you know, and we can talk about like Clay, but within 5 days, they were like, yeah, let's use your real-time API and we want to action this like immediately. So it's just kind of like use case specific, but that's been, you know, a challenge.
Yeah. Joey, I'm curious from the private equity side, what attracted you? Obviously, you knew these guys relationally, but what was, you know, attractive to you? We've got some founders out here. You know, what do you look for in an early stage startup, and why them? Why did you join their team?
Yeah, for sure. So, I mean, to be fully honest, like my background in private equity, typically we invest in companies that have, you know, 10 million plus of ARR. And so it looks a little bit different. And so for me, this was like a different type of personal investment, both in terms of angel investing and also from a time commitment. I think for them specifically, number one, it was full trust in the team. They all have backgrounds that I think overlap in a really nice way, and they bring something different to the table as well. From my understanding, they all essentially saw at Capital One, at TransUnion, at Facebook, at fintech companies, this problem repeated. And what they realized is that like there were a lot of different people who were trying to solve it manually, or they had these huge teams. And so to productize that was something that I frequently saw in private equity. Like that type of story of this is done manually, or I personally am doing this today and I want to create my own software to solve it, is something that's super common. But I think the team was a really big one. I think in terms of the size of the market, it was incredibly greenfield. And what I mean by that is there are a lot of people who aren't doing anything to solve this today, or they're doing a very manual approach. Of course, if you're in financial services or a regulated industry, you probably have a solution like this. What I liked about their solution is they're not necessarily selling into those industries. They have some customers that are, but a lot of the customers actually sit outside of that. And what Neil had mentioned earlier is that, it wasn't their core issue. If you're a dating app, you care about getting people on the platform and having a good experience. Your number one priority isn't, let's make sure that people can't go and create bots that are trying to pitch you services within the platform, right? If you're a software company with a free trial and you have a PLG motion, your number one focus isn't, hey, I'm gonna make sure that bots aren't creating fake accounts on my platform. And so to me, I was like, okay, that's a very clear problem, and it seems like a lot of people aren't doing this today. If they can do it in a way that's really affordable, which they are, that's attractive. And so it was a bit of the product, a bit of the team, and then the market overall was just really large. And I knew it could continue to grow.
Are there competitors, and if so, how do you all differentiate yourself from other people that are in the space?
Yeah, so there's a lot of companies that I would say there's kind of two types of companies in this space. There's point solutions and there's platforms. And point solutions pretty much do like one part of fraud detection, and that's their core offering. So an example of that would be like Fingerprint.js, if anyone's heard of that. They'll just like device fingerprint your users. So you go to a site that's using fingerprint, they just give you back like a really unique device ID, and they're like, yeah, like, Neil's using device 1 kind of thing. Then there's like a couple players in the market that are, I would say, like cheap platforms that try to stitch together a couple of those vendors and maybe give you like an overall like risk score or something like that. And so we kind of looked at that, and also a lot of our customers that we were like engaged with were using, a combination of those or some of those already in-house. And so we kind of looked at that and basically just asked ourselves, okay, like, why does this suck and how can we make it better? And so in the V0 version, I actually did use a lot of the vendors. And so I just like learned how to use them, like figured out what was the weaknesses were. And then I just, in V1, pretty much built everything from the ground up. So I'll give you an example, which is today, you can go and get like temporary emails, right? Like disposable emails, they're called sometimes. So like you need a quick inbox for something, you just put in a temporary email, get the email, and then forget about it. Most people, the way they detect that is they just have a list of known disposable domains. And maybe that list is updated once a month, maybe it's updated once a day, like who knows? You're just checking against a list. The way we do that is we have those same lists, okay? We also, when we see a domain that we've never seen before, it could be a domain that you create during this talk and then go and challenge one of our customers like with that email. We actually go and look at the site. We'll pull up the site with a bot, take screenshots of the site, make a determination. Is this potentially a real business that we've never heard of? Or is this like and then we do even more intelligence, like is it a personal email provider or is it a business? Like a lot of our customers care, if you're only selling B2B, are the people signing up, businesses or individuals. So we kind of like reimagined each one of these core products. And so we have, I'd say like 5 main ones, 4 or 5. Like we look at a lot of device risk. We look at a ton of network risk. We look at behavioral. That's like, mouse movements, clicks, scrolling, accelerometer. And then we now have email intelligence, which is one of the things I was just talking about. So yeah.
Interesting. Just so you guys know, we're about to break out to Q&A. So if you've got questions, start thinking about them. I'm curious kind of what's next, what's coming, what are you all excited about, either on the technology side or on the business side? How do you envision that you all are going to scale in the coming year or two?
Yeah, so I think we have a lot coming. The couple big things coming the rest of the year. The first thing is we're going to release custom modeling pretty soon here. which this is something that we've been working like kind of in beta with a bunch of customers where the way our product works is we collect all of our own data and you just call our API. So it's you get all this stuff that I'm talking about with one integration. You can do it in 15 minutes. But we have some, more sophisticated customers, I would say, that they actually want to enrich even that data with some of their own. So an example of this is, we don't work with this company, but an example would be like your Spotify, and like last year there was this huge issue. I don't know if you guys know Little Durk. It's like a rapper. But Spotify released their Wrapped, and a bunch of people had Little Durk on their top 5, and they're like, I don't even know who this is. What had happened is that people had their accounts hacked. Those people were then streaming Little Durk, and then at the end of the year, they're like, it's on my Wrapped. And so
Did he do it? Do we know?
I don't know if it's come out. I'll look into it. But basically, there could be signals like, someone listening to really atypical genres that they would usually listen to, someone repeating the same song for, days on end, that kind of thing. So you can stitch all of our data with some of your own proprietary data and your own disposition data, and then basically run a real-time model through our platform for your company. So the idea, really the vision that we want to, manifest is that we're the backbone of your fraud team. And in some cases, even we are your fraud team. So along that same line, one of the things we're going to release is a bunch of integrations with customer service tools, Intercom, Slack bots, that today, the first thing that happens when you get blocked on, an account is you go to customer service and you start making like a kerfuffle about, hey, why did you block me? And like, this is a typical behavior for a fraudster. So the customer service agents, largely offshore, honestly, they have to like maybe ask someone on the core team, hey, why is this account blocked? Like, what's this product Verisol? So we're going to integrate with, a lot of the customer service stack, like Intercom. You can just, do one command and basically get the status of that account and why. So stuff like that.
I think one thing I would add on the business side, and this was kind of starting to happen as I was leaving. I think so. It's a horizontal product. Like, it serves a lot of different industries. You can use it for social. You can use it for market research, gaming, Web3, et cetera. And so there are a bunch of different customers all over the map. And while that makes it really exciting for a go-to-market motion, it's actually really hard to figure out, okay, what are we going to prioritize next? Like, which audience should we hit and how should we hit them? I think when I first joined, a lot of what we would do is say, how can we get the most publicity, or what's a tactic that we can use that kind of works across everyone, and then we'll see who's responding. That didn't work very well at all. And so as I was leaving, what we started to do is say, okay, let's very specifically define the segments and get down to like, who is the actual person? What are example LinkedIns? What do they look like? What newsletters do they read? What do these people do in their spare time? And then we created, okay, for each audience, what's like the most basic messaging? How can we try to partner with one of the newsletters or one of the article groups or an industry report or what have you? And then what's like a ridiculous, goofy idea that might just work for this segment? And so as an example of that, we just published a case study with Growth and Hinge, which is a huge PLG newsletter. They have 45 to 50,000 subscribers, and it was with one of our customers, Clay. And so just like that, we get a bunch of different prospects that look exactly like Clay. We knew the people that we were targeting. We knew they read this newsletter, and they were like, yeah, Clay is a competitor, or, we use Clay, and we saw this newsletter. And I think just that one piece alone led to, 2 to 3x increase in demos for the next 3 weeks after that got released. And then in terms of like some of the goofball ideas, we're like, okay, this group, maybe they like golf, and so let's send them golf balls. Or for our enterprise customers, we just bought socks. We got $1,000 worth of socks because we're about to be SOC 2 certified, and they care a lot about that in the enterprise segment. So we're gonna send them 2 socks.
Yeah, we
wearing them.
Are they Verisol branded?
Oh yeah.
Nice.
I don't have one.
Oh.
This was your opportunity.
I was gonna
Missed it.
too.
We should, we'll get to it later, but we should tell them about the king cake idea you had. But.
Awesome. Well, we're about to go to Q&A, so I have one final question, and then if there's anything you guys just want to share about, I know you talked about wanting to maybe share a little bit more about Clay, but how is AI disrupting your industry? I'm also curious, like, how are you using AI in your own product development? Anything you want to share on that end?
Yeah, so I should have mentioned we're 6 people big. So we're a really lean team, and I'm really proud of the stuff we've accomplished in that size. Yeah, AI is is changing a lot of fraud, and very quickly. I mean, first of all, just in the email intelligence, I remember in the first like 24 hours that we released that, we had a customer go live with it, and like they had something like 100,000 emails in the first 24 hours. 60,000 of them were ChatGPT plus some number. And it was like, wow, okay, like this is the difference, you know? Basically, someone had, you know, written a script using ChatGPT probably to generate emails. We obviously blocked that and detected that immediately. But yeah, I think it's changing the game. I think semi-technical people and even non-technical people now can actually do like very basic things, you know, fraudulent things. They can write their own bots, they can, you know, and there's also a whole slew of like productivity tools that have come out. There's a tool that I just saw recently called Multion. It's basically like prompt engineering, but for your browser. So you can actually just say to it like, sign me up with these 100 emails for the top 100 newsletters. And it will go do it in front of you. It's like super productive, but also kind of scary. So, you know, what is real and what is fake is that definition, like I was saying earlier, is really gray. I think it's only going to get grayer. And so I view that as kind of like, you know, the challenge for the next couple of years for us. But I look at raw data like all the time. I'm very in the weeds. And so we look at a bunch of stuff. I think in the last 5 years, a lot of people would say that you could only detect bots with like network risk. So like usually to run a bot at scale, you need to be doing it in the cloud. And the IP ranges of like AWS and GCP are all known. But I think more and more, you have to look at some of these alternative signals like behavior and continuously. So like a basic thing is like, take Twitter, for example. You pass all the CAPTCHAs, you get verified, you're a real person, then you sell the account. What are you? You know, are you a bot, are you real?
Can we show the use
Yeah,
case
we should
for
actually,
Twitter,
so we make a lot of our own data, and one of the things we do is we make our own bots, but we should show this. This is like a pretty sophisticated bot that we made recently, and we just ran it on Twitter, and yeah, Joey can explain. It's making an account on x.com though.
Yeah, and also really quickly, like we don't do anything nefarious with this. So like this is for informational purposes only. But what you can see is there's a bot that's using computer vision to look at the fields, and then it's calling OpenAI and saying, what should I fill out? What should I put in the fields? And this is Twitter. And so Twitter is using obviously like a pretty expensive fraud detection tool. And so you can, I don't know if you want to name drop the competitor, but like they're using one of our competitors, and pretty easily it's able to go through. I think this is a CAPTCHA that pops up. It easily dispatches that.
Solves it.
It can even do 2FA. So here it's saying we sent you a code to your email. The bot's able to go retrieve that code, drop it in here.
Right. So we have like a fake inbox basically that we just like get the code from, and then it'll generate a password.
And then boom, you have an account on Twitter. And so there are a lot that, you know, Twitter actually has 2FA. They actually are running software to detect bots even, and it's able to get around that. Imagine when you have none of this running. You know, it's really hard to detect, and their software actually would detect this type of bot. And so a lot of what we'll show people is say like, look, we'll run this bot on your website. You can see it happening. And then here's what you would see with Verisol. And it'll say, we detected this automation framework. We noticed it was coming from this device that had this level of risk. And then you can easily say, okay, that's, you know, marked at 98% likelihood of being a fake or what have you, based on IP, device, user behavior, et cetera.
Did y'all send that to Elon? No.
We tagged him.
I think we did. We added him, yeah. No
I would
response.
see him responding. Awesome. Well, let's open it up to Q&A from the crowd. Let's get some questions going. We probably got about 15, 20 minutes for Q&A. So
I would say yes, yeah. You go first, but.
No, you go first.
I mean, in terms of bots more broadly, for sure. Like, I think AI chatbots are super helpful. Like, we've all seen like small bots like that are almost like widgets that are helpful. I think, for example, on Reddit, they have bots where it's actually designed to like pass you information. So they're bots that go in and scrape. And so we create a few of those in the Reddit platform. That way we can stay up to date on, you know, when is Verisol being talked about within Reddit. And they encourage that. Like, they want people to have that type of automation framework so that they can parse out information. So they're definitely bots that are good. A lot of them, yeah.
I think like I was saying in the beginning, like what we do is we detect fake accounts. It's really up to the company what they want to do about it. I'd say most companies, or pretty much all of them, just want to know. They want to know what % are fake, who they are, what they're doing. You know, we have customers that use us. They don't action any of our information. They just get reports and you know, they're fine with that. Maybe one day they will, but we have other customers that action immediately, you know, so.
Yeah, right here.
No, actually,
Wait,
I'm not.
is that like most of the internet just as bots talking to each other?
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. I'd say we need tools like this. I mean, I think, you know, one of our like sort of like meta principles at Verisol is we just want to maintain the magic of the internet. I mean, we just like think it's super substantial what you can do, but underpinning it all is a little bit of trust. When you order an Uber, you're going to get a real person driving a car. You know, when you go on a date from a dating app, you're going to meet someone real. So I think if you lose that, you know, the magic of the internet goes away. And so we'll see. I mean, we work with a lot of, I'll call them like professional automation experts. They're basically like fraudsters, but we play games with them. You know, that's part of the way we get better is we'll like make a game, for instance, and they try to bot it. We try to detect it back and forth like that. And, you know, I think even they are like almost impressed by some of the things we're able to detect. You know, we give you like a score that's 0 to 1, and I'm not saying everything's a 1, but almost nothing is non-zero, if that makes sense. So we'll basically give you a probability that this person's a bot.
Yep, right here, John.
You mentioned KYC earlier. Do you guys have a solution to support protection of transactions like crowdfunding, like if businesses doing crowdfunding for schools and such, or some other good cause? Do you see your solution engaging with that to help protect the donor as well as the institution raising them?
Yeah, so right now, we don't do any financial or transactional fraud. We don't do KYC. So that's kind of, that's a very like saturated space. I mean, we've looked at that a lot, but the one thing we do have is that original like liveness detection product that I mentioned. Pretty much we have our frictionless platform and we just tell customers you can step up to that if you want to, like, you get someone that's potentially fake, you can make them go through a liveness detection as like the high friction way. But yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Right. Exactly. Like KYC can be pretty expensive. And so we are actually talking to some prospects now where it's like, look, you can use our software before you get to the KYC step to filter out obvious bots and not spend as much money because our solutions.
One of the differentiators for us is also the way we price our product is like an all-you-can-eat buffet. You can call us every second of the day for a month. It's the same price as if you call us once a month. And so traditionally in fraud, like KYC, I think KYC is like $1.50 per verification right now. You just get waterfalled away. You know, every time you're making a call to KYC, it's a purchasing decision for the customer. Versus for us, we want to be your backbone. We want you to like use us all the time. You know, have the best intelligence at any time that you want. So it's a different approach.
It's all you can eat per user, just to be clear.
Yeah, sorry.
Per user. Good clarification. Yep.
Yeah, well, I mean, so this bot that we just showed it's taking screenshots of the page, uploading those to OpenAI and with like a very particular prompt about that step, and then basically getting back an action. And then we have a bot that like translates that into an action. Yeah, I mean, AI are you talking about internally using it? Yeah, like in operation. Right. Right. Yeah. Right. Yeah. So I mean, another place that we use it is we have a model right now that detects generated usernames on emails. So, like a gibberish username, for instance, like, non-pronounceable basically, versus like Joey plus two, not a generated username. So, but how do you get like a labeled data set like that? You basically have to use Gen AI to like generate me 1 million emails, that's truth. So building all that stuff from the ground up is like a ton of work, and that's what's taken 2 years kind of like to go on each of these things. And every day I go into work, I'm like, wow, like we did not think about this. So it's interesting.
Yeah. All right, we got time for probably 2 or 3 more questions. Yep, right here. Good question.
Yeah, so our very first customer was a gaming company, yeah, in Korea, and we targeted them because they responded to us. They're the only ones that would meet with us.
Did you just
But-
mass outreach a lot of companies, or who did you reach out to?
Yeah, I actually forget exactly. I think we got introduced to them by someone mutual, but they were at the stage, which is kind of like how a lot of our customers are, where they had a hunch that a lot of their users were fake. Like they had bots playing on the platform. If you went into I think they used Discord, everyone was talking about this account's fake, this user experience sucks. Like it was really bad. So they were like, thirsty for a solution pretty much. Since then, we've kind of spread out. I mean, Joey can tell you more, but I'd say we're doing really well in like all the industries we touch. The one that's maybe standout is market research, the polling companies that I was talking about earlier, but you can.
Yeah, I mean, for many reasons, market research is one of our best industries. First off, you have people that get paid to take surveys. And so there's a very clear incentive of, I'm gonna make a bot to take that survey 1,000 times to get paid $2 every time I take it. In addition, I mean, the data is useless if you have fake accounts responding to the survey, right? Like data integrity is very important for these market research platforms. And also there are a lot of different players involved. And so a lot of the industry is built on trust of like, you have a panel that consists of real people. So I will outsource my like survey launch to you. You will run it through your group of people and they'll fill it out and hopefully the survey will be real. And then if that's wrong, you lose trust, there's chargebacks. There are a lot of issues that come with it. And so there are a number of kind of customers across the entire spectrum of people that are, creating the surveys or like the survey forms themselves that can integrate it. You have the final website where you get paid to take the survey on that website that use us. And so it's a huge industry and it's just a problem that we can solve pretty easily.
Yeah, I think. But what are the numbers? It's like we've never had a customer churn, right?
Yeah. So I mean, in terms of like market research, or just more broadly, like the recent go-to-market for us. Recent go-to-market, it's like we just try to get people to pilot because of the past 25 plus pilots, every single pilot has converted to a customer. And the reason why is they compare us versus what they were doing before. They see a lot of new intelligence that they hadn't seen, more correct markings as real or fake, and oftentimes it's cheaper as well. And then in addition, we've never had a customer churn. And so like those are 2 of the data points when you talk about, how do you know that you're better than your competitors or what have you? If there are a bunch of point solutions and we're putting everything together, we just have better intelligence. They're able to call us more based on our pricing model, as Neil mentioned. And so it's more accurate. And it's generally cheaper.
Awesome. Yeah, right here.
Yeah, so we actually, like I said, we collect all of our own data. If Henry was here, he knows a lot more about the legality of that. But I believe there's 2 types of owners of data. There's like processors and controllers, and because we collect our own, that makes us like one of the 2 that's better. But there's 3 pieces of information that we are not the processor of, and that's your account ID. So like your unique account identifier in your application, you actually pass that to us. And we join that, tie that together with the session data. Your email, your account email. And then it depends, but sometimes IP can also be considered like PII. So those three things, we let you delete at any time. We just have an API endpoint. People run jobs all the time, and they just delete it. Like Joey mentioned, we're getting SOC 2 compliant, so that's helping a lot. But I actually think that, and this is kind of like a bit of a hot take, I would say, that I have developed in the last 2 years is compliance issues it's a smokescreen, really. It really means that the customer doesn't love your product enough. Because the fact is, like, if a customer, really wanted something, they would make exceptions to get that thing. And so someone saying, oh yeah, compliance is an issue, like, I understand for the big companies that are more regulated, but like at the stage we're selling to, like these Series A, Series B, you're on the phone with the decision maker, like that's a cop-out, And so yeah, we're addressing that is the short answer, but I don't spend a ton of my day-to-day like focused on that.
Also, I will say we are GDPR and CCPA compliant.
Yeah.
So we are compliant.
Doesn't matter.
To Neil's points, like when, I think what he was describing was also tied to like some of our enterprise customers especially are not even willing to pilot us because we're seed stage. And so that's definitely been one of the barriers. And that's part of why we decided to get SOC 2 certified, to be like, we are legit, we are a real company that cares about data and privacy. And we recently built out a full trust center so you can go in and see like, okay, what are all of our processes and what is happening with your data. But yeah, we are GDPR, CCPA, and we'll be SOC 2 in like a month or hopefully sooner.
Hopefully next week.
Okay.
I want a pair of socks.
Okay.
You got
I
me?
got you.
You got
I
me,
got you.
Joey? All right, let's do maybe one more question. Yep, right back here. Go for it.
Yeah, like you're saying. Oh yeah, that bot was also doing like what's called Bezier curves. So it's like very human-like, and then it's overshooting the target and then coming back. That's like a very human-like thing, but we still detected that. But yeah, that's right. If we close down? Well, I haven't had to answer that question in a while.
I'll take the first part of that. That's okay. So we have over 25 months of runway. And so I think especially for a startup that's seed stage, like that's exceptionally long. Part of it's because we're a lean team. Part of it's because we already have 25 plus customers. And so I don't think we're burning as quickly as a lot of other seed stage companies. I do think that, the hope is when you integrate the product, it is built into a lot of your workflows. And so to be fair, like it's not like a really easy rip and replace. And so, we're confident that, given the fact that we have over 2 years of runway, that often has alleviated a lot of the larger customers' fears of, hey, if I integrate all this, how do I know that in a week you're not going to shut down? Like one of the prospects we were talking to was like, we literally built workflows around a product that when it went out of business within a week of going live. And they didn't tell us any of that. And so you don't really have that risk. You don't have that risk with us, at least for 25 months.
Yeah, to add on to that, I think the way I think about it is actually if we do our job really well, we'll help you grow. And we have a lot of examples of that. The Clay case study that just came out, the headline number of it is in the first 30 days that they integrated with us, they converted an additional 150K of ARR in the first 30 days. So they basically had people that were like repeat using free trials, endlessly, never converting, never going to the paid plan. And they made one change, which was if you get suspicious or fake, you only see the paywall. You don't get a free trial. And that converted 150K of ARR. So, that's kind of like part of the, a common rebuttal that we get is what you were saying, but also even like, well, we want the user growth. We want our charts to be up and to the right. But I think what we've realized is that when companies get to like Series A, Series B, they reach a tipping point of like, they realize like they almost start thinking more longer term. And longer term means better, more organic growth wins. Not fake bots, not, you got to have real tweets on Twitter, that kind of thing. So.
Yep, go ahead. We got time.
Yeah, so no, I wasn't on the fraud team specifically. I was on a customer-facing team that it was basically a chat bot that did a lot of customer service, and we had tons of issues with this. I was also like sisters basically with the team that, if you guys have ever heard of Capital One Shopping, it's like a Chrome extension that just like tells you when the price is better. And they used to drop promos all the time, and they had like no idea who was getting these promos. And I'm talking like on the scale of like millions of dollars lost on just marketing spend going to like bots and people that were never going to sign up for a Capital One card. And so that's part of our other sell is like, we help your marketing teams, we help your metrics basically focus on who your real customers are, who your real users are. You're not wasting any time with Clay, for instance. I think of their free trial users, like 40% were in Bangladesh. They never market in Bangladesh. Like, why make any sort of spend on them or anything like that? But Capital One, it's a different game. I mean, that's like, they have like maybe 100, 200 people on their fraud team, tons of vendors. So yeah, I think, we're starting small, we're doing our best, but it's at the top of the enterprise, and banks are like, they're not on the bleeding edge, but they're pretty close. The stuff they're seeing, and so it's different. But
I'll give a really kind of quick quote from a customer that I think is similar, but it's not Capital One level. There was a market research company called Protégé, where they had a team of, I think it was 20 people that were working on this issue of fake accounts, people filling out the survey incorrectly. One of the individuals from Protégé had gone and started his own company and was looking to build that fraud prevention stack. He implemented Verisol and was like, I don't need a team. Like, you guys are doing everything that this team of 20 was doing. And so he's like, I don't need to spend time. I don't need to like manage a team of people. I know it's correct. It's automated. The workflows are all built out. And so I think in a lot of ways, like, you're probably not going to replace the 100-person team at Capital One. But if it's a less regulated industry, you really can replace a lot of people that would be doing this problem more manually.
Awesome. And I think you had a question. You still got one? You can be our last.
You're 64 right now. Any thoughts of expanding, or are you just sitting small for scaling?
we actually just expanded. We used to be 3 people until January, and we doubled in size, yeah. And in our board meeting, we had a slide that said triple double this year. Doubled revenue, doubled the team, and what was the third one?
Double the customers.
Double the customers, yeah. We'll see. I mean, there's a good quote that's like, the best way to slow down speed is to add another person to the team. And I kind of do believe that. I mean, right now we have 4 engineers. So 2 of us are in Austin, and then the 2 new people we hired, they're in Brazil. They work our time zone, and all of us kind of like have ownership of one of those products that I was talking about, network, device, behavioral, email. And we're, we're in the weeds. We're pretty product focused. We're always looking at, what are the distributions of our decisions, where are we possibly getting it wrong? Where are the false positives, for instance? But we'll see. I mean, I think what's becoming more apparent recently, especially because Joey's been doing a great job growing our customers, is people they want to ask questions. And so one of the things we released, they want to ask questions about like, why is this person fake, for instance, or what does this mean? You can think of like a non-technical PM. They might be asking like, what does an emulated device actually mean? What is that? Why is that risky? So one of the things we released is an AI fraud analyst that you can go into our dashboard. You can just ask it about any account, and we give you like a couple paragraphs usually about why that account is real, suspicious, or fake. So yeah, we're gonna try to wait to hire, I think, as much as we can.
Yeah, and one other point I would add is there was a question earlier of like how are you using AI internally. Neil kind of answered it from a product side, but I think there's also like a productivity side. And so especially in the go-to-market team, we were a team of 2. It was myself and Henry operating like a team of 10. We had automated as much of our work as possible. We had AI agents that were constantly scraping LinkedIn. I mentioned some of the Reddit scraping that we were doing. We were scraping all the news articles, industry reports that were coming out every day. And so because of that, we were able to like send our message around a lot more than we would have 5 years ago. And there are also a lot of great new go-to-market tools that have come out in the past couple of years. And by chaining those together, Clay was one of them, one of our customers. We also use them as a product. And so because of that, we were able to operate more lean than we otherwise would.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. Really appreciate you being out here. I know I talked to 3 people beforehand that all came specifically to meet you guys because you might have been solutions for them. So definitely, if you guys are going to hang out for a little bit, we'd love those conversations to happen. But thank you so much, and I'll hand it over to Kelvin.
Yeah, let's go ahead and give him a round of applause. Thank you guys so much for joining us. That was awesome. As Cole mentioned, if this service could be beneficial to you, your business, please find these guys afterwards, chat with them. Also, as Cole said, we're with Rubico. We do software development. We love partnering with startup founders. So please, if that's something that we can help you with as well, come find one of us and chat with us. There are some more drinks. We've got about 15, 20 minutes to keep hanging out and networking. So thanks for coming, y'all.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.